right. So we're starting?
We are officially rolling.
Alrighty-o.
Rolling there and rolling here.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. Well, third episode.
Already.
I think we're doing what we said on the first one. We think we can crank out some episodes pretty quick.
Yeah, I think
we
so.
were saying about, quite a few.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a break between our first one, but
we're making good time.
We're making good time.
Yeah. I think the most important thing is we're having some fun with it.
It's definitely fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're getting lots of good feedback from, friends and
Connor and
stuff,
Dylan.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. And yeah, it's just fun to do. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun talking about a specific movie for like an hour and a half,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for episode 3, we kind of did the switcheroo, right?
Yeah.
So this was supposed to be episode 2, but we went for Wild Robot because it was more relevant right now.
Exactly. Newer movie. And
yeah. Instead of going like old to old and then new. So I think I like this better because, we go obscure to something relevant now to something a little bit more obscure. Again.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this movie. We're doing the White Dawn.
Yeah. And it's nice too because we have the White Dawn actually on Blu-ray again. We went out and bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So like with the Wild Robot, we saw it in theaters, so we can only really see it once. Whereas like this, we own it, so we can always refer back to it if we feel like we have to.
Right.
So it's like doesn't feel like there's as much as a rush to do it.
It's nice to have the physical copy.
It is nice.
It'd be cool to eventually, like, once the Wild Robot comes out or movies we see in theater, like get the physical copy and then we can have like a little display somewhere.
That's what I want to start doing, showing all the movies.
This is episode 1 all the way across to 2 and whatever and so on and so forth.
Because I actually do like buying them, and it's fun to go out and look for a movie and everything like that, and then we have like special features if we want them and everything like that as well to kind of go off of. So
yeah, it's funny because like when we did like the Taxi Hunter one, I kind of like spotted this one on the shelf and I was like, ooh, this looks kind of interesting.
Such an odd pick too.
I don't know. I picked off the cover. I was like, the cover looks kind of cool.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool poster.
It is a cool poster.
Yeah.
I mean, it stands out. That's for sure.
Definitely.
So we almost like, I guess, subtly kind of picked episode 2, 3, whatever, number 3, I guess, like when we did episode 1.
Yeah, exactly. Like simultaneously.
So we were like, let's do the White Dawn.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. Like, I'll go pick it up kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't know what's more obscure, Taxi Hunter or White Dawn.
Probably.
I
don't know.
Maybe Taxi Hunter,
maybe?
but yeah, because White Dawn, I mean, it's an American movie, and
Whoa, is it an American or Canadian movie?
I think it's an American crew filmed in Canada.
Yeah, so this is a big debate.
Yeah.
Because what I learned in film school is like what makes it a Canadian movie. Does it make it because it's filmed in Canada? Does it make the crew? Is it the director? Like what would make it a Canadian movie versus like an American movie? Which is like a whole debate.
Yeah,
but
I feel like if the production company,
it's a North American movie.
Yeah, but if the production company is American, then I feel like it's American. That's like Deadpool was filmed in Vancouver,
so it's like
Deadpool is definitely not like a Canadian movie.
Definitely, yeah. So I guess it comes down to maybe I agree, like production company.
Yeah, and
technically,
like who's funding it and where it's coming from, and then
like they own the rights to it, right?
Yeah.
So
this does have a Canadian vibe to it, though.
Oh,
like,
100%.
Yeah, definitely. But so it's a 1974 movie. It's directed by Philip Kaufman, who's a fairly big director.
The Right Stuff.
Yeah, he did The Right Stuff.
Yep.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and then The Unbearable Lightness of Being, which I've never seen, but I just know it has Daniel Day-Lewis in it. It's like some 3.5 hour like love epic. But he did The Right Stuff, which was like a giant movie. Again, I've never seen it, which I feel kind of bad saying, but
I don't even know, because I think the times that I've tried to watch that movie, I've never fully gotten through it, but I've got like maybe about halfway through. It's a long movie.
It's like 3.5 hours or even longer, maybe
about 3.5.
Yeah.
But it's a long movie, and I think I don't know, I can't remember what parts I've got to. I think it's maybe when they actually get like the space, like the astronaut crew together and like they're about to go to space.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah. I've never seen it. I'm going to watch it very soon. Like I wanted to watch it before this. Again, there's so many movies I want to watch before doing the reviews, just the directors of their works, but it's hard to get to them all, especially when it's that long. Yeah.
But now, this is like at least what I wrote down. If this is chronologically correct from what I've did some research, this is his 4th directed movie.
Okay.
So was it The Right Stuff first, I think.
I think it would have been after, wouldn't it?
Was
I
it
thought The Right
after?
Stuff was like 1980 something.
I think. Let me just look it up real quick.
Yeah.
I thought Right Stuff was maybe a little bit before. Let's see.
Really? I think Right Stuff is like 84.
Is it 80? I'm gonna say The Right Stuff. Oh yeah, you're right. So
Yeah.
it's 10 years later.
Yeah.
And
And then Invasion of the Body Snatchers is probably like 79,
Okay.
maybe. I'm just running off random dates here.
Yeah, I remember when we were kind of watching the movie, I like just looked up like what his other directorial debuts were. So the first one he did was called Goldstein, 1964. Then he did Fearless Frank in 1967.
Is that okay? Keep going. Sorry.
Then the Great Northfield, Minnesota Raid, and then The White Dawn, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Wanderers, The Right Stuff.
Yeah, The Wanderers, right?
And then it kind of goes on.
Yeah, and then into the 90s and
up to the So I think his most recent movie that he directed looks like it's called Hemingway and Gellhorn.
Wow.
2012 TV movie.
Okay.
So it obviously, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe,
I've never heard of this.
He actually directed that movie. I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago, you like gave me a bunch of movies, like DVDs, and there was a movie called Quills in it.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's on here.
He directed that.
2000.
Yeah, which I said I was going to watch and then I never watched. So I'm like,
it's rated R.
Joaquin Phoenix. Yeah, like kind
Are
of.
you old enough to watch that?
You know, yeah, totally.
I don't know.
I can handle that, man. You know, a little nudity, a little shagging. I think it's just Joaquin Phoenix like shagging a lot. I don't know.
You have to watch it and let me know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so fourth directed movie.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting movie. When we were kind of watching it, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't do any research beforehand.
Neither did I.
Didn't watch trailers.
No.
I think we might have read the back when we were first looking for when we were like looking at Taxi Hunter. But it was mainly like just by the cover.
Mm-hmm.
And I painted a picture off the cover saying like, oh, it's like an expedition. Maybe they're like, I don't know, being hunted down by polar bears or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's like a survival of the fittest, but
Yeah.
it's kind of, I guess. But I just thought I painted a different picture in my mind.
Me too. It's
when
like,
I kind of saw the cover and like the three guys.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. We'll have the poster up here, but yeah, from my view of the movie, because I knew nothing about it either from the poster, it's like the three guys in the middle.
Yeah.
Two polar bears at the bottom, and then like in the middle is like a guy kissing a girl, and I just expected some schlocky, stupid movie where they're like, I don't even know. I wasn't expecting like this movie definitely takes a more serious approach.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't schlocky. It's not goofy.
No.
There's some little funny bits, but I mean like it's a pretty serious, straight movie.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the vibe I got from the poster.
Yeah.
Which was a surprise to both of us, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, do you want me to read
I think we'll kind of go on the tradition. You got the plot.
Yeah.
You read
All
the
right.
plot.
I'll read it out. The White Dawn tells the true tale of three sailors in 1896, who are separated from their ship during a hunt for polar bears and walruses. Eskimos who live on Baffin Island, just south of the North Pole, save their lives, but one angry sailor brings fear and violence to all. So yeah, it takes place in 1896. So just to be clear.
Yeah.
So it says it's based off a true story. And I was looking it up because I'm like, what true story? Like, I want to read about the true story. And then it turns out this is based off a book by James Houston, who's like a Canadian author.
Okay.
And he like lived with the Inuit people. And it's a true story in the sense of it's been passed down from generation to generation. So it's almost like a bit of a fable. It's a story that most likely happened, but it's just been told through generation.
Right.
So it's not like a documented, story necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the movie tries to go for that approach of a bit like a fable. Like, what would happen if three kind of Western men were, trapped and saved by the Inuit? Like, how would that,
Yeah.
how would that work?
Now, just so we can get our terminology right, because I know when we were watching the movie, they kind of go into I don't know if I wrote it down. Because I think it's like more of a derogatory. Yeah. Okay. So we won't. Yeah. I wrote down a derogatory term, so I think Inuit is definitely the right term.
Yeah, I think it's what they prefer to be called, but foreigners call them Eskimos.
Eskimos, yeah. Which is like they're commonly referred to in the movie by the three main characters.
Yes, yeah, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I think we kind of watched a commentary from like a guy who's, what would you call him? The British guy at the end.
he's like a historian type of guy.
Like a historian or like, some sort of like
specialist on the Inuit people.
Yeah, so he kind of goes off and talks about like the proper terminology or the, how it's like a little derogatory or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. And but the movie tries to be as respectful as possible about the Inuit people, and it uses actual Inuit people as well. Like these aren't actors.
No, yeah, they live there.
Yeah, and they speak their own language.
Yeah.
And then the author too, James Houston, wrote this movie as well, and was along the entire time while they filmed it.
Okay.
Which is interesting.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know much of the James Houston guy, but it seems he's about, showing a positive portrayal about the Inuit people. So the movie tries to give that off as well.
Right, right, and like kind of like preserving, like their soul, like their heritage and stuff. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the movie never feels like, especially from being from 1974, it never feels like they're fumbling the portrayal of the people. It feels authentic.
Yeah,
and that's like a big, like thumbs up to the movie. I think.
Yeah.
For 1974, especially, I was reading that like there's a main Inuit actor who's kind of like the leader of the Inuit people they're staying with.
Like the older guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarkak or
yeah, I think that's it.
But originally they cast a Japanese guy for it.
Oh. Okay.
And then the Japanese guy showed up, and then the Inuit people like basically like rejected him. And were like, it's just not right. And then then they decided, and the Japanese guy, I guess, like bowed out gracefully. He's like, I don't think I'm right for this. I think you should probably just, if you're going for authenticity, then you should probably just get
like an actual person that lives up there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it did a nice job. It didn't like disrespect anything. I don't think like it showed a lot of the way of life up, like living up there.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool because I think in some parts we were like, what the hell is that thing?
Yeah.
We'll kind of talk about it. It was like that little pillow looking thing.
Yeah, the seal pillow thing. Yeah.
It's
like almost feels like a documentary.
Yeah.
For a lot of it.
I think it's weird because it's almost shot like one in a way, like a very candid sort of documentary.
Definitely.
It's not like interviewing anyone in that style, but it's kind of just like, I think for some of the shots, like one specifically, I think I recall is like there's a guy paddling in a kayak, paddling in a kayak, and it just looks so candid. Like it's just like the director of photography or the cameraman was just like, oh, that's a cool shot. I should capture that while he's doing that, because he's not paying attention to the camera. He's just paddling along, and it's a cool looking shot. So I think a lot of that stuff is just like life is happening. For sure. They're capturing it.
And that's exactly what it was.
And it's just they're going to put that in the movie because it's going to fill
definitely
certain shots, right?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So it's like a direct, like a documentary narrative in
totally.
A way. It's I don't know. I got like weird vibes that way
for sure
through the whole movie.
Yeah, and like the back of the DVD set, it said that like one sailor starts to like ruin the peace between the white men and the there's one black guy with them as well.
Yeah.
But that he starts to like kind of ruin the peace between them and the Eskimos. So I was expecting the movie to be like focusing mainly on one character who's kind of like not liking the Inuit people, and slowly kind of like is either like racist to them or something, and slowly like makes things more violent or something,
right.
Or like escalates the situation.
Right.
But the movie like kind of half focuses on that, but most of the movie feels like a documentary with some narrative bits in between it.
Yeah. I'm going to add on something later when we kind of get to the parts that we're going to talk about, because it just popped in my head, maybe why I felt that this certain type of way, but we'll get to that. It's mainly about Warren Oates.
So we should say who stars in this movie. So it's a pretty interesting cast.
So we got Timothy Bottoms as the character named Daggett. Then we got Louis Gosset Jr. as Portuguese, and then Warren Oates as Billy. So those are your three main characters. And then we got a lot of like actual Inuit people just playing, characters. I don't think they're actually playing themselves. Obviously, I think when you look in the IMDb, like they're just playing like a name or something.
A name, because like this movie was shot in the 70s, so they're not living like they are in the movie. Yeah, and they're like a lot of the culture they show in the movie kind of had to be taught to these people because they've been like missionized and like so it's not like the way of life, like there's scenes where they're hunting with spears, where now they in the 70s they probably would have been using guns,
like a rifle or something.
Exactly. So but basically the movie starts, we should just go right into it. So it starts with in black and white, which was weird. And it starts with a ship, and then it's like a big like ship.
It's like a whaling ship,
like a big whaling ship, and then you see, kind of like how in like Moby Dick, you see them spot a whale, and then a little boat leaves that big ship, and it has 4 people on it.
No, I think it has more. I think there's more guys, but like there's 4 guys that when they like capsize or whatever, it's the 4 guys that kind of make it to shore.
Okay,
which is the 3 main characters plus 1 guy.
Yeah. But so they're like out trying to get the whale. They throw the harpoon in the whale, and then the whale kind of drags them into ice, which then capsizes their boat. And it starts in black and white, which I couldn't figure out why, because I'm like, are they just trying to establish the time period? But then the movie switches right to color. But it turns out they were going for like a documentary feel.
Okay.
And there's like old Canadian documentaries from like the National Film Board that I remember seeing in school, in public school. So they use some stock footage. So they need to blend new footage with the stock footage.
Is that what it is?
Which is black and white. So then they just like did the first bit in black and white. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a little weird, because when the movie started, we were like, wait, on the back of the cover it's color.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And it all takes place in the same time period. So why are they choosing to go black and white at the beginning?
They must have just couldn't probably recreate that type of footage. So I guess just buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like buy the rights to it or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Makes sense in that regard, I guess. But I was a little confused. I was like,
confused too.
It's an odd choice.
Yeah.
So
and then once their boat capsizes, and then it shows like the 4 guys who, are now like stranded on the ice. It switches right to color.
Right to color, like just a hard cut.
Yeah.
And it's a cool shot. I remember like soon as it switches to color, I think like you were really like wowed by it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, ooh, that's really nice.
Cinematography in this movie is amazing.
It is cool.
I think it's pretty good. It's done by Michael Chapman, who is definitely a well-known cinematographer. He did like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, which is like one of the best like looking movies ever, some of the best black and white.
Yeah.
There was a few other I wanted to mention. One of my favorite movies is The Last Detail. He shot that, and then he also shot Space Jam. So, he's done a little bit of everything. I don't remember the cinematography in Space Jam, but if it's anything based off this, it's probably amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, some great shots in that golf course or whatever.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen Space Jam.
Yeah.
No, it is a really like nice looking movie in that regard. Like everything is framed up nice.
Yeah.
Just like the cool, like that, like it's a huge scenery.
Mm-hmm.
Just nothing but white, and then you see these like 3 or 4 little black dots just walking across the frame, like in the distance.
Yeah. It cuts from like black and white to white and blue.
Yeah.
But it's almost still void of all color.
Yeah.
It's just blue and white. Yeah.
And that, I mean, like you gotta have some nice shots if you're filming like in the rural Baffin Islands.
Yeah, Baffin Islands. Yeah,
all that. Some nice cinematography.
Oh, totally.
So, it looks nice because of the actual director of photography and then the scenery. Right?
And the scenery. So, it's hard to shoot that scenery and make it look bad.
Oh,
but
yeah. No, look, it's a really nice looking movie in that sense too.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, which we can get into more later too.
Yeah,
other shots.
So then when they get off on the ice, there's 4 of them originally. So the 3 main characters, and then some random guy that's like struggling to like walk. So I think it's like Daggett and Portuguese are like trying to help him walk, and he just collapses and dies.
Yeah. Which I love that scene because like they all look so exhausted. Yeah. And normally in a movie, if they drop their friend and just to die, there's like a big discussion. Should we keep carrying him? Should we do this? Blah, blah. They just like drop him and just keep going.
There's like,
because they're so exhausted though. Like you can see it's not like there's just no point on talking about it, which I thought was a good little detail. You know?
They're just kind of like, we're cold, we're hungry, we're tired. Let's just keep on
just
going.
Like this guy, like even when they're carrying him, he looks dead. So they're just like, drop him.
Drop him, just leave him. Didn't take anything. Did they take anything from him? I don't think they did.
No,
they just left him.
They just drop him.
So then they're walking, and then now they got to deal with Warren Oates' character, which is like struggling along. And
he's like way behind and like can barely keep going.
Yeah.
And he does end up collapsing.
Yeah.
In the snow.
Yeah.
And then like Portuguese just turns around and does the sign of the cross. And then they just keep going. Like they just
the same thing.
Just the same thing. It's like there's nothing you could do, you know?
So they're kind of walking along. And they because I think he collapses in like faints or whatever. Then they end up finding an Inuit. Just kind of, I think he had dogs with him or something.
There's just one like on a hill. And he sees them.
And
then he like looks and then runs away.
Exactly. And kind of like, because they try to follow him or something, right? And
then he goes and lets like all the Inuit people that he's staying with tells them that he saw these people, and they all come on dog sleds.
Yeah, that's right. And then they come and like rescue them, put them on the dog sleds, and take them to the village.
Yes,
right?
But it's interesting because they've never seen, because it's like 1896. They've never seen foreigners at all.
Yeah.
So there's no difference between the white man and the black man. They're both equally as new to them. You know, which I thought was interesting too. There wasn't anything about. They're just both equally as new to these people. You know.
Yeah, there was like no discrimination.
No discrimination. It's just
like
these are things we've never seen before. You know?
So when they find the three of them, I think they find the dead guy.
Yes.
And then they just take his clothes and just leave him. But like, I mean, he's dead. But like, just this naked body just
in
like
the snow.
literally butt naked in the snow, just laying there. That was kind of a funny shot
for sure. And then as they're like pulling the three characters back to where they're living, Portuguese Lou. What's his name?
Lou Gosset Jr.
These names are not sticking in my brain, man. It's brutal.
Lou
Gosset Jr.
Yes.
I almost said Phillips. Lou Gosset Jr. sees the naked body, and he's kind of horrified.
Yeah.
So it starts to show that already he might be distrusting these people.
Right. Yeah.
Like he's like
they just looted him or something.
Him, and now it's like, what are they gonna do with me? You know. So instantly there's like a bit of distrust. He's like,
they kind of like view it as like almost like a savage act just to leave.
For sure.
Because I mean, like,
and he kind of like grips like himself a bit more, so you can tell he's like, what's gonna happen?
He's uncomfortable, because he would probably be feeling the sense of like, oh, they just left him to die, or just left him and just took all of his clothes. Like,
exactly. So and Warren Oates is passed out right now. He can't see anything. He's like,
because in their customs in like like the North American, like Lou Gosset and Timothy Bottoms, their customary would probably be like to bury him.
Totally.
Right? But they just like it's probably polar bear food at that point.
Totally. And they just strip his clothes because where they're living, it's just they're not going to leave it. You know, so it's not an act of savagery. It's just like they need it.
Resourceful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
So when they get rescued, they get back to the village, and I think everyone's kind of like pretty curious about them.
Mm-hmm. Like, they call them like dog children.
Yeah. Dog child, dog children. Yeah. Which is.
Yeah.
Did you look up the meaning behind that?
I was hoping that, because I watched the commentary and I was hoping the director would mention that, but it's not really mentioned.
No.
They're just like we're born through like the dog spirit, and maybe it's because of their hair and the way they look, and they're white, and their beards and something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But they take Timothy Bottoms and Lou in one igloo, and then Warren Oates is like in another igloo, and so they basically start to kind of like help these guys out and keep them warm. And the way they do that is they have like the girl Inuit people. Yeah. And they like lift up their shirt and then put the feet of Timothy Bottom and Lou Gosset Jr. like into their shirts,
like under their like, what do you want to call them? Like sealskins
and like under their breasts and everything. Yeah. To like keep them warm.
Yeah.
Which
just bare.
They're already living the life.
Yeah, literally,
guys,
yeah.
But it also makes sense, and like I get it. You know.
Yeah.
Like I can like there's that whole beginning scene where they're like resuscitating them and keeping them warm. I'm like it feels warm. I'm like, I want to be there. Yeah. They're like in this warm igloo covered in like all this fur. They got like their feet in the shirts, and it's just like you can tell that it's just like this place looks
pretty comfy.
Looks pretty comfy, honestly. You know,
like some of the clothing is like like that. Yeah, it looks nice.
Yeah, and you learn throughout the movie that like the Inuit people, because they're living in these igloos, that they're very like close people to the point where they literally all like sleep together. You know, like because there's
like
not that
in
much
one
space.
Bed,
in one big bed, and
like it's cold. Probably. So you got to keep use body heat to keep each other warm.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yeah.
And then another bit of like sowing of distrust is they give Timothy Bottom soup, and he's drinking it, and then he passes the soup to Lou and is like, drink this, and then Lou's like, I'm not gonna drink that, and he's like, why? And he's like, look at it, and it's blood.
Yeah, they're drinking blood or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be like pee or something.
Me
like
too.
Urine or whatever.
Yeah. So instantly again, they're a little like, who are these? You know, they basically kind of sowing of distrust.
Yeah.
Like they drink blood.
Yeah. They're not ready for like that jump, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Very not much like their culture, like what Lou's culture is like and where they're from. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
So again, are these people gonna hurt us?
Yeah.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, like while they're in the one igloo with the people, then Billy or Warren Oates is in another one. They're trying to like resuscitate him and doing all this sort of like spiritual ritual kind of type stuff and essentially bring him back to life. I think they're like putting something in his mouth or like some sort of, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember, but they're also just keeping him warm by doing the shirt thing too and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Because then like when he wakes up, he's like freaking out.
Yeah, he is not. It's
He's
funny
not
because there's the
happy.
3 characters. So you have Warren Oates' character who does not trust the Inuit people at all, does not like them. Then you have Lou's character who is kind of in between. He's sort of like likes them and trusts them, but also just wants to go home.
Yeah.
And then you have Timothy Bottom's character who like kind of acclimates himself into their culture right away. But Warren Oates' character is the guy who goes over to the other igloo and then is like, keep your knives close to you, because I heard a story where they took a foreigner like us and then made him walk on all 4s and like tied him to the dog sled or whatever. Basically turned him into a dog.
Yeah.
So he's like, he doesn't trust them.
Yeah, he's the untrusting one.
Yeah.
I thought I wrote something down here. Oh, we can probably get into this later because it kind of like talks about the characters and maybe their motivations a little bit more. But yeah, it like it took like one night for Timothy Bottom's character to just like, okay, I'm leaving my past life behind.
Yeah, he seems to really like get into it right away.
Yeah, right away.
Because why not though? You're stranded, and eventually they kind of learn that like, because Timothy Bottom's character is more open to the situation, so they'll like take him on hunting trips and everything, and you know he becomes then the leader of the tribe, starts to like him, and then starts to share his wife with him and all this stuff. So they like trust him because he's like sharing his culture to them as well. Yeah. Whereas Warren Oates is just sitting all grumpy in the corner the whole time, like not trusting them.
Because Timothy Bottoms is like showing them drawings of like back home, so like a house, like the house that they live in. A picture of a train that he drew. Yeah. Which these are all like, just like chicken scratch drawings.
Yeah. They look like they were drawn by like a 4-year-old.
Yeah, pretty much.
He's not a talented drawer, but neither am I, so I can't say anything.
Yeah. So he's kind of like comparing, like educating them on like the life that he lives, or that he's used to, and then he's like just ingratiating himself into like their life just right away. He's like just totally interested in it. He's like almost considers himself in a way one of them because how fast he like is doing stuff with them. He's like going on hunts and like making love to the chieftain's daughter, or the chieftain's wife, his second wife, making love to her like every night.
For sure.
He's just
and again, it's not done in a cheesy way though. It's like the leader Sarkak like shares his wife with him, but that's just kind of a customary thing there. There's not that many of them, and it's like there's not really ownership for a wife. It's kind of like a shared.
Yeah. It's almost like a thing of like kind of like respect maybe. Yeah,
definitely. And it doesn't seem like it's out of the wife's, like she doesn't want to do it. It's
Oh yeah, she wants to.
Yes. Yeah. Which comes into play a little later.
Yeah.
But and it's funny too. You can tell who's trusting the Inuit and who's not, because Lou Gosset Jr. and Timothy Bottoms are like in the seal skin and like in the fur and everything, and they're dressed up like the Inuit and they're like a part of the culture. And then Warren Oates the whole time is like still in his shipping gear. Yeah, like he does not want to like take part in
he does not with them.
Like he wants to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah,
because he definitely thinks at the beginning he thinks they're gonna kill them, but then later he just kind of just doesn't like them. Thinks they're savages.
Yeah, he sticks with them because I think his only saving grace at this point would be Daggett and Portuguese, right? He's the only thing he's got left of like his world kind of thing, right? So it's like, he just doesn't want to join anything.
No, So after this happens, we get a lot of scenes, like 30 minutes of just like the hunting and everything. So in this movie, there's a lot of like, you do see real scenes of hunting.
Yeah.
Like the one scene, I think one of the first scenes of hunting is they take Timothy Bottoms out to kill those birds. Those ducks.
No, I think it's the polar bear.
Oh, the polar bear. Oh yeah.
Because the polar bear like kind of like comes up to their camp and they're all freaked out. And as it gets closer, then there's like a guy that's like just not scared, and just like it goes up and starts like killing the polar bear. Now it's a fake polar bear. Like I think in the shots, they just like a real polar bear stumbled upon them, so they actually film like a real polar bear like walking across or stopping and sniffing something.
Well, I read that it was a polar bear they flew in.
Oh, what?
From Hollywood.
Oh, what?
Out there. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
And because it was like a trained polar bear, kind of. And then when I was watching the scene again, I'm like, this polar bear looks like it came from a Hollywood zoo, because it does not look good. It looks thin.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's doing too well.
Okay.
So then they filmed that scene, then they flew it back out. So I know.
Just don't leave it. Oh, my God.
So I thought at first when they were killing the polar bear, because it's like Sarkak is killing it with a spear.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if they were really killing it or not.
No, I don't think so.
No, because they throw a spear at it, and like the end of the spear has like fake blood on it. So it like when the spear hits it, blood sprays. Like it's crazy looking.
Yeah.
But then it cuts to like close-ups of the spear going in it, and it like is a fake.
Yeah, it's just like looks like just like a white sheet, not a white sheet, but like white fur. Just a close-up of just like something, just like a spear, just puncturing
For
it.
sure.
So
and
like,
I guess when the movie came out, there was outrage about that scene because people thought they killed the real polar bear.
Oh yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like that, I think that's the only really sort of like
fake animal death. Yeah.
Like I guess makes sense. Like because if maybe at that time maybe they were.
Bears
were low
I'm
in
sure
numbers.
for sure. Like I'm sure, yeah. And there was like outrage, so I'm assuming so. And it's just like killing a polar bear, you know. Yeah. But so they kill this polar bear, and then out of nowhere, they all start looking over, and the shaman guy comes over on a sled.
Yeah.
And
literally out of nowhere.
And a Sarkak, I think, whispers to someone. It's like he knows there's food, so he could be like opportunistic kind of. They don't know. So he comes. Says the polar bear, the heart is like kind of cursed. And that the men they've taken into their tribe, the three main characters, are going to bring them bad luck. Says they're going to bring the bad luck, and that they'll only bring danger and all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And then he proceeds to pull like a magic shaman trick, where he like grabs the spear that killed the polar bear.
Yeah.
And like stabs it through himself.
Yeah.
Goes behind a rock, comes back from outside the rock, and there's no wound on him.
He's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so he's pulling some like magic tricks, which even the tribe doesn't really feel like they're believing it.
Yeah.
Warren Oates definitely isn't believing it.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I've seen that trick done, and I'm like, it looked pretty real to me. I would have been like, damn.
Yeah, and that at that point too, I was like, what kind of movie is this? Like,
yeah, I know.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Kind of weird, but
yeah. So he basically warns the tribe that these men will bring them bad luck.
Yeah.
And they don't really listen to him.
Yeah. No, they just kind of, whatever.
Yeah. And the shaman does have like a sidekick called Dirty Boy.
Dirty Boy,
comes into play later.
You dirty boy.
Yeah. But then, so the shaman warns them that there's bad luck here, and then he leaves. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the first time you see him. He comes into play again later.
I think he gives them like maybe like, a few warnings.
Yeah.
That's the first one.
A few warnings, yeah.
Yeah. So they get the polar bear. They don't eat it though, I don't think. They just kind of...
No, they just kill it because like it's a danger.
Yeah. It's like a bad omen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But then they do kind of take the shaman's warning about there being a curse because they decide to switch bases from where they're living.
Yeah, because I think he's saying something about the lady at the bottom of the ocean or something.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, she's unhappy or something like that, and you're gonna have bad fishing, prosperity or whatever. So I think that's when they decide to kind of move camps in a way. Right? I think they destroy because they get the warning of like the bad omens and all that stuff. So I think they start like destroying like their igloos. So like that no bad omens or bad spirits can live in the igloo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And which I heard is like what the Inuit would do if they had a problem anywhere, they would just get up and go. It wasn't like they would try to sit there and figure it out. It's just like, no, we're out of here, you know, and they would just go.
Just relocate.
Yeah, and even if they had like someone in their like in their group who was bad, it's just like, okay, we're leaving. You know,
and that's showed later in the movie too.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. So then, so this kind of happens a few times in the movie where they kind of change where they're living. You know, so then we see them all moving in their dog sleds and everything like that, and
they kind of move to an area like close to like a river.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like a larger river.
Yeah.
Which then they start setting up the teepees.
Yes.
Or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Tents.
Yeah,
I
like
think it's a
teepees.
teepee.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the proper name for it, I guess. But that's it. Then that's it.
And then this is the scene now where they take Timothy Bottoms out hunting. And so they go hunting for like ducks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they bring all the ducks back. And then this was the scene that was like, it's kind of brutal, but all the Inuit, they're cheering because they have all this food and they all like grab the same duck and then pull it apart.
Oh yeah, they're like ripping it apart.
Yeah, ripping it apart. It almost reminded me like a wishbone thing. Like you don't know why they're doing it, but it's like who gets the biggest piece maybe wins or something.
Yeah.
But again, like what I was hearing in the commentary is he's saying like it can look like savage, but if they saw the way we like kept our chickens that we eat in like cages of 1,000,000, they would think we're the savages. So they're ripping this thing apart, but it's a dead animal.
Yeah.
But he said that's what they would actually do. Like when they were filming the movie, they would like catch a seal to eat, and they would all surround it and just tear it apart.
Really?
Like if they're gonna feed it to the dogs, they would just all tear it
Okay.
apart. And he said
Yeah.
like one lady turned around to him with the seal eyes in her mouth, like smiling. So it's just like, it's just kind of what they do, you know?
Yeah. It's like a little game or something.
Yeah.
Um,
But in the movies, animal deaths never feel cruel.
no.
And I was hearing that they had a rule that every animal that was killed had to go to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they either ate it, and they actually killed them like in actual like hunting expeditions, you know? So,
Yeah.
and then just filmed it.
Because they do that. So they kill the ducks. Just to kind of go off on the other animal deaths is, I think you see a seal.
Yeah, you see a few seals get killed. Yeah.
They're like trying to pull it up out of the water, and it's like obviously like heavy.
Yeah.
So it takes like literally like 4 guys. Because when Timothy Bottoms like when he's like going with all the Inuit people and doing all these experiences, hunting the ducks, hunting a seal, like he's fishing for seal with them, and I don't know if he doesn't catch one. The other guy does.
The other guy does.
One
Yeah.
of the Inuits does. So he catches one, and then he's like so happy because I guess it's something new, and
Yeah.
like I guess it's showing that it's like success in fishing. So like they're like trying to pull it up, and it looks like it's a real seal.
It's a real
like,
seal. Yeah. It looks huge.
So massive. So like 2 guys are trying to pull it up, and then they can't. So then all these like 4 guys are pulling this seal out of the water. And then I think the other animal death was the walrus.
Yeah. They hunt walrus later. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, what's that smell? And it smells like pigs or something
Yes,
like that. So then they actually go and like hunt a walrus. So
yeah, with like spears and everything. And that scene's a little more like brutal, just because walrus are giant creatures.
Yeah, and like you can see them like throwing a spears
at
it.
them. Yeah, and it's like you see that impact and everything.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like what you said. It's not done distastefully.
It's not.
It's like
I had no issues with that at all.
Yeah, again, it's just like it's just filming the way of life.
Totally.
It's not like it's like a pointless scene. Like we'll kill that walrus over there, and then
they're not doing it to shock the audience. They're doing it to teach the audience.
Literally,
so,
yeah. So it's like it's an educational in that sense, right? It's the documentary side of things.
And like I always think back to movies like Cannibal Holocaust, where they kill animals just to shock you.
Oh,
where it's like this is like super tasteful, super respectful.
Yeah,
I never felt like I was witnessing something wrong.
Yeah,
you know, it's like because they're using actual Inuit people and it's real and like I don't know.
Yeah,
and then I like when they kill the seal too, and then like the Inuit guy like puts snow in his mouth and then melts, then he like spits it in the seal's mouth.
Yeah,
because they believe that like all living creatures crave fresh water. So therefore, if you kill an animal, you give it fresh water to drink.
Yeah,
and then in the spirit world, it'll tell the other animals to go to this hunter to die because he'll give you fresh water.
Yeah.
So they like kind of like show some of their like spiritual practices, you know, and like they're like respectful of the animals they kill. For sure. You know. Yeah.
It's like if like you know we were to kill one, it would be like, all right, kill it, and then just like take like maybe half the meat or something like that. It's like
when we go fishing, you just bash on that and then throw in a bucket. Like you know, there's no you know, there's
like you say that the fishing gods are definitely displeased.
Yeah, which we always when we're fishing, we're like we got to please the fishing gods. You always put the first one back. You always like try to kill them fast and
it's like it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So like where were we before like all the animal death scenes, because that kind of covers that, so we don't have to talk about it too much.
So we're at this is a hard movie to piece together because really there's like 4 main moments of plot and the rest is just kind of watching stuff happen. So
it's a lot of filler, right? Like in a way, like I think, and again,
enjoyable filler that I like though.
Because it again, it's like you said, there's nothing that really like pieces a storyline together. I kind of like after we watched the movie, I was like, you know, it feels like they just were like, let's go up to the Baffin Islands and just kind of film the way of life, documentary style. And we'll bring these 3 actors along and maybe we can piece a story together for a narrative. That's kind of what it felt like. Just because, it's nothing seems like incredibly staged unless it's like a major plot point, like the things with the shaman, the things with, you know, like actually that was probably like a natural thing that happened, like the whole dance thing in the big igloo.
Yes.
So like things with the shaman, like they had to like obviously like stage that.
And that shaman was a real shaman who like lost his way, I guess, and then they hired him for this movie. But he was like at one point a real shaman.
Oh, okay, because I remember the guy at the end who was like the historical guy. He was like, I've met him before. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, totally.
Really
the
cool.
perfect guy to play the shaman.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So like the stuff like that is staged. You know, obviously anything with the 2 or 3 main characters on the frame is like staged.
Mhm.
Like so there's some stuff like that, but then there's a lot of like educational filler.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
Which I like.
Like
I like that.
yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of like the movie's definitely a culture clash movie. So there's little points where they like do something like the three main characters will do something that relates to their culture, and it might offend the Inuit because like there's a scene where they're wrestling with the Inuit,
right?
And the Inuit wrestle first, and the one guy takes the other guy down, and instantly the fight's over. They hug each other, make up. Like the winner isn't the winner; they're both equal, even if the loser loses. Like they're still. It's not like a competition, you know.
Yeah.
And then Warren Oates is like, "Get Lou in here. He's fought everyone on all the ships, and he's never lost. And he's fought all these people in all these towns, and has never lost." And then the Inuit guy takes down Lou right away.
Yeah.
So then Lou's like, again. And then the Inuit people are like, only children fight twice, you know?
Yeah,
But they don't know what they're saying. So then he's like, again. He loses again.
Yeah.
Gets like pissed and puts the guy in like a chokehold.
Yeah. He starts wrestling his way.
Yeah. And then instantly it's like, you know, the wrestling isn't for competition. Whereas in the Western society, it is a competition thing.
It's like you win something in the Western society.
And the victor is the victor and has like bragging rights. And it's like a sign of like being a man.
Yeah.
Whereas like in their culture, it's not. So then they're kind of offended by what he did, like choking out the Inuit guy, and they all kind of like just leave them.
They're just like, oh, screw this guy.
Yeah. And then two Inuit guys are like, we don't like you guys. We're just gonna leave, and they just get on their little sleighs and go leave forever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like what you said. They just get up and leave.
They just get up and go.
If they don't like something, then they just go.
They just go. Yeah. They're like, They're like, they even say to the other Inuit, they're like, these guys, this is gonna bring bad luck. We don't like them.
This is trouble.
Yeah. But there is a point where they're staying on like a river, and the three of them kind of see a moment to try to get in a boat and sail down the river.
Yeah, because they have like a bunch of kayaks and boats and stuff.
Yeah. So Warren Oates gets the idea to steal a boat.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. Again, all they have to do is ask.
I think, because is it before that? Is when he like starts challenging the guy to like the knife throwing contest or something?
Yeah, that's after.
Is that after?
But that's after. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was before for some reason.
Yeah. Even the wrestling is after.
After the
escape.
The escape.
Yeah,
thing?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because.
Yeah.
Right. Because so Warren Oates, being the greedy, sort of selfish, sort of character, you know, he decides that, you know, screw these people. Like, I'm gonna.
Yeah. He's like, we have a river right here. We can like it's
sail
thawing now, and
we can sail to the nearest boat or whatever.
Yeah.
He gets the bright idea. He convinces, or essentially just drags along Timothy Bottoms.
I don't know why Timothy Bottoms is so down for it.
Yeah, I thought he was like totally willing to just stay with them.
Me too. I'm surprised that he's just like, all right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Like,
So he convinces or drags along, you know, Portuguese and Daggett.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I almost forgot his name.
Hard names.
They are hard. So he like drags them along. He Billy. This is Billy doing all this pretty much. Steals like a bunch of fish,
like all their meat,
and like fish and stuff. He takes one of their what we thought was like a seal pillow, but I think it's like a buoy. That's what I think it is. I think it's a buoy for when you hunt. The seal or whatever can't go down far. That's what I think it is. And maybe it was a pillow. I don't know. Billy doesn't seem the brightest character.
No. Because he even says, he's like, we're going to steal a boat. And they're like, should we do that? And he's like, yes. And we're going to steal a lot more.
Yeah.
And they literally take like all their food to the point where the people who are left behind are like starving.
Yeah. I literally have nothing.
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah.
So I think Portuguese, because I think Portuguese was like the sailor guy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he like makes a sail for this tiny little boat. They're all, you know, sailing along the river. And the Inuit people are just like watching them. They're like just kind of like, what?
Yeah. Like
in a way. So they're just watching them sail away. Almost like in disbelief of like, oh well, they're not gonna make it without us.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Like they know that they're done.
They're not gonna survive it.
No.
So they end up going down the river, and they get like pretty far. I think.
Which is a funny scene too, because Warren Oates is like not helping to paddle.
Oh no, he's just sitting there.
And throughout the movie, he's never helping anyone to do anything. He's just sitting around.
He is the laziest.
He is the laziest. When they kill a bird, he'll like finally stand up to be like, food. But the rest of the time he's just sitting down. So when they're like paddling away, he's like steering the boat.
Yeah, he's just sitting there with just doing the bare minimum just to do like.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, so they're sailing down. They all kind of get into an argument.
Because they're reaching ice again.
Yeah, they're like, we can't go farther or whatever.
They're like, last time this happened, we capsized. Yeah. And Warren Oates is like, we gotta keep going.
Yeah. So then Timothy Bottoms, I almost said Timothy Daggett. Timothy Bottoms character like starts freaking out. He's like, no man, we gotta go back.
He's like, we gotta put the sail down.
Whatever. And then they start wrestling on the boat, and then the boat capsizes, losing everything,
all their food,
all the resources, whatever they had on there. And then again, they're back to square one.
Square one, alone and just standing on the ice.
Yeah, and they're just like freezing and wet and cold. And then
Warren Oates is just so stupid and goofy. He's like, if I ain't the most unlucky son of a bitch with boats, it's like, dude, you stranded all your friends twice now.
Yeah,
out of just like greed for whatever,
Just because he wanted to get back. He wanted to go back and try and find another ship.
Yeah.
That was maybe passing by or something.
Yeah.
So they're back to square one.
Yeah.
I think one of the Inuit people like decided to follow them or something.
They were obviously following like the whole time.
Yeah. So he's on a kayak.
Yeah.
He's following them along, and sure enough, he rescues them. And then I'll let you, because this was the part that you thought was the funniest.
Yeah, I thought it was the funniest thing is Warren Oates has been so lazy, so it shows them finally arriving back to the camp at the river, and you see Lou and Timmy walking on the shore.
Yeah.
And then Warren Oates is just like passed out on the back of the canoe, half in the water, just being dragged along back to the camp. So he's not even helping. He's just laying on the canoe.
He's like, holding to the back.
They're towing him.
Yeah, towing him.
He towed him back.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. Again, in the commentary, I was hoping the director would mention it.
Yeah.
What's going on? Because it's weird as hell.
Hopefully we can either find like a still of it or like a small clip of it, because it is pretty.
It's
funny
hilarious.
Looking. It's just like this character is like, I don't know if Warren Oates was just a lazy bastard.
I feel like he was
or
so lazy that they just towed him back. Like he's not.
Yeah.
He could just be walking along the shore like the rest of them.
Yeah.
Like it's just hilarious.
Yeah.
He's the one that gets everyone into trouble, and then he's the first one to just like
take advantage of any chance he can get
totally.
for just to get an easy ride.
Yeah, it's a hilarious scene.
Yeah.
So now everyone's a little. They're not even that mad at them, but they're like, ugh, these guys.
Like,
we
seriously?
had to go back and save them, and like.
Yeah.
But again, they cared enough about them to save them and bring them back. You know?
And I think that's like the type of it. Like it kind of shows that sort of side of their like culture. They're just like they didn't cast them off right away. They gave them like 3 chances.
Totally.
Right? And they're just like super forgiving.
Like they want, totally.
Yeah.
And they want to like help them. You know, they're not going to let them go starve and die, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But then when they get brought back, they realize the whole camp's basically starving to death because they took all the food and then capsized it. Yeah. And that's when like they're like getting close to starving. There's an old woman who like is continuously singing a song throughout the movie.
Do you want to recreate that? Do you want to?
It's a sick. I honestly will go on about it later, but the soundtrack for this movie I really like, and I've been listening to it every day.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of it. But
it's pretty atmospheric.
God, it's so atmospheric and like epic and like. I don't know. I love it. I think it's really, really well done.
Yeah.
Definitely a highlight of the movie, and it keeps the movie going. Like every time they're like on their dog sleds and like this big atmospheric shot of like the landscape with that song, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a vibe I like. But then that's when they brought back the woman who's always singing. Yeah, Warren Oates at the movie is like, will you shut up? He like he hates her singing, but she's dying. Everyone's all sick and dying.
Yeah,
and that's when they smell pigs, which are walruses.
Right. Yeah, the walrus.
They get the walrus, kind of revives everyone.
Yeah,
because now they have food.
Yeah,
and apparently I was reading that walrus was not something they like to eat because like it's very tough.
Yeah,
and, like kind of gross, but it's all they have now.
So you might as well eat something.
Yeah. So they're all revived now, sitting along the river. Everything's kind of like calmed down again, and then here comes the scene with Warren Oates and. Where he starts to teach the Inuit about gambling. Mm-hmm. So again, sort of a corruptive, white man type of thing that he starts passing on to them.
Yeah,
which is an interesting scene.
Yeah, again, it's like the clash of way of life.
Yeah, culture clash. And,
yeah. Like you do something that's,
and this isn't like a competitive culture.
No,
and they're now making it competitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So he's teaching his gambling ways of like. Throwing a knife. So he pulls out his knife, and I think the one Inuit guy is pretty, emphatic over the knife. He's like, ooh, what is that?
Yeah.
Right? So,
Warren Oates
has he's like the button. It was like the buttons. Like he
has like a rabbit's tail. Warren Oates does on the necklace, and and then he has a log in front of him, and he puts the rabbit tail on the log, and then throws his knife into the rabbit tail.
Right.
And then the guy's like, ooh, let me try, and then he tries and gets it.
Yeah.
And then Warren Oates is like, let's start betting.
Let's make it interesting.
Let's make it interesting.
Kind of
So I'll bet one of my buttons, and he like cuts the button off.
Kind of like a gold button or something, or a brass button or something.
Without any wager from the other guy yet.
Yeah.
So Warren Oates is doing the classic pool shark thing. We're making it seem like you suck at it.
Yeah.
So he throws, the knife bounces off the log.
Yeah.
The other guy throws it, gets it in the rabbit's tail, gets the button.
Yeah.
Then he's like, let's do it with another button. Oh, am I keeping it too far?
You were just like,
oh, sorry. So then
we're still warming up.
Yeah. So then he basically loses all his buttons.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'll bet this knife now.
Yeah.
For one of your daughters.
Wives. I think it's his
wives. I think it's his daughters.
Was it his daughters?
Yeah, it's his daughters.
I thought he had 2 wives as well.
Yeah,
okay,
these are his daughters.
Daughters.
Yeah. So the guy's like, thinks he can win.
Yeah.
You know. Throws, gets it close to the rabbit tail.
Yeah.
Warren Oates just bing,
like
gets
right
it right on the rabbit tail, so he gets the guy's daughter.
Yeah.
So now the guy's kind of panicking and wants his daughter back, so he bets his other daughter to get hopefully the daughter back and the knife. Yeah. Loses the second daughter to Warren Oates, and Warren Oates is like instantly grabbing them. And,
he's just like, totally.
Which no one likes.
Yeah, they're all kind of like disgusted by it and oh god.
So then Warren Oates grabs the 2 daughters, starts walking towards like a tent.
Yeah.
And then you can start to see there's a bit of like
that's not fair because you took his daughters, but he didn't get anything in return.
Anything else. And again, Warren Oates doesn't care because it's competitiveness. This is the point of competition. But he can feel the atmosphere changing.
Yeah.
So he gives the guy the knife.
The guy is super happy.
Yeah, he got the knife.
It's like he lost nothing.
But then those 2 Inuit ladies are like,
they're just like,
are you idiot? You lost your 2 daughters for a knife.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting enough, one of those daughters, which parallels what happens in the movie later, in real life after they shot that movie, got drunk, wandered out into the ice, and then froze to death.
Yeah.
So in real life. Like, that happened in real life to the actress, like right after they shot the movie.
Right after they shot the movie.
Yeah. But something similar happens later to a character.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, wait, okay.
Yeah, I just thought there was a weird detail.
That's
like, again, the harshness of the environment. Like, she drank too much, walked out, passed out, and then froze to death.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. But the scene when they're throwing the knife was interesting because it's all done in a wide shot. So Warren Oates is really throwing this knife
and really hitting it
at this log, and everyone's sitting right beside the log.
Yeah.
So when I was watching it, I'm like,
people behind the log and stuff.
I'm like, that thing's gonna bounce off and hit someone, and it turns out it did.
Oh.
When they were filming it, Warren Oates threw the knife, it bounced off and cut a lady's forehead open.
Oh my god!
Which then, paralleling the movie, all the Inuit people started to be like, I don't trust this film crew now, you know, because they literally just like injured one of our people, you know, like slit her forehead right open.
Oh my god!
Like just missed the eye, but then they made up and like, you know, told them it was an accident. And it was all figured out after that. But it's just like,
crazy.
I knew it was gonna happen when I was watching the scene. I'm like, they're way too close to that log.
Yeah,
someone's gonna get hit, and like someone did.
Yeah,
just crazy.
I feel like it's that's such a crazy thing to like, and like, I think you gotta be careful. If I find is like if you're going into like another culture's like way of life, you gotta be like, even if you're just filming it for almost like educational purposes, is like you gotta be careful because you're probably disrupting unintentionally.
Yeah.
Like in that sense.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because
right?
none of them are actors. None of them have ever worked on a movie before.
Yeah.
You know, probably none of them expected like people to get injured.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it was the director's fault, and he was like totally admitting it. He just wanted it to all be in one single shot.
Right.
Rather than like a cheap close up with a knife goes in. Like he wanted to show that it's actually happening.
Yeah.
But he could have moved them a little farther back because even I was like, they're way too close to that knife.
Come on.
And I've thrown knives and stuff at logs or like axes, and that shit bounces off all the time.
Oh yeah.
It's like when you go axe throwing, that axe will come flying back at you. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting. So then, Warren Oates gives the guy the knife, and they kind of make up, but still, there's a little distrust about these people.
Right.
Stealing their wives.
They're still like teaching them the wrong things and taking advantage.
Yeah.
Took their food. Takes his daughter.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which they're willing to like share people and like not like but I mean like they don't really like don't have ownership of their wives or their daughters. But Warren Oates instantly wants to own the women now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So he takes them to the tent and does whatever he does with them.
You don't see that. You don't hear anything about it. It just kind of fades out, and I think comes back to the next scene. Right?
Yeah.
So I think it's implied, obviously.
It's implied, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
so that happens, and then
I
think is it the whole like mating scene after that? Or,
yeah, because then like
after?
The movie kind of goes through seasons. So this is when stuff is thawing. Now stuff is starting to freeze again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they move base again.
Right.
You watch them like actually build igloos, which is crazy.
Yeah, and they build a giant one, like a huge one. Like you see them like cutting it out of the actual like snow.
Yeah.
And interesting enough when we kind of like were like listening to the I don't know if you call it like an anthropologist or sociologist, something like that, the guy that is like educating you a little bit more on the way of life. He's like, no, that's actually how they do it. Like, this is like when they're like hitting the top of it, like it's like like melting and like thawing the edge, so it's like melting together. It's like when they're hitting it, it's like creating enough like friction or something like that to melt and like freeze together. So yeah, he's like, that was like actually like how it works and how it looks and everything. So they're creating this giant igloo, like almost like a community center or something like that, where they can all gather and do, like, celebrate or do dances or something like that. Because like that scene starts happening.
So they do that. They build it. They build a new.
Is it the wine first?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, they do their dance first, and then like a couple nights later, the white guys show them how they party, basically.
Right. Okay. Before we go like that far, because we should talk about like the whole community center like dance sort of scene, because that was like interesting to watch. So they all gather and they're all doing like this sort of dance. They do this thing like it's like a game to see who can make the other person laugh or something.
So one person goes in the middle like a dance circle. And does something and then stops and then has to make someone laugh, and whoever laughs has to join the circle.
Has to join them and do the same thing.
And then do
the
same
people.
thing. So they're like doing stuff with their faces,
doing like funny faces or whatever weird
Lou
noises.
laughs, so he's in.
He's doing it with people.
Orin Oates isn't having a good time at all.
No, he's hating his life.
He hates everything.
So they kind of go into that sort of thing, and then they do like a whole dance.
And then the throat singing starts. So like
the throat singing, which is like kind of interesting. I didn't know what was going on. So these two girls, like this guy in this mask, like is kind of going around the circle, and then he picks these two girls. Right. And then he gets them to kneel on the floor, and they start throat singing towards each other, which to explain it like might sound weird, but essentially they like are almost like kissing, but they're like wide mouth and just like breathing out,
blowing into each other's like esophagus.
Like
back and forth, mouths together. Very like sensual and I think I think the guy said it's supposed to be sort of like a mating thing. Definitely. And like I heard too, it's like it was like a sensual thing to them as well, and like because like a cold environment, it seems like even the movie shows that they're like a sensual people. They all like sleep naked under the same blankets. So sensualness is like a way to keep warm as well. Right. So it's like this kind of like two young girls kissing basically and breathing into each other's mouths, and it's like a I don't know if it's like a mating thing or because it is like kind of like almost like it kind of starts a whole little bit of a orgy almost. Not an orgy, but they all kind of climb it. They're
all they're like that starts happening, and then people like two by twos start like leaving the big igloo, going into their smaller igloos to like I guess just make love or whatever. Have sex, trade wives, whatever. So they go into like all these other different little igloos, and what's funny is it kind of shows almost like the selfishness of like the North American, like Daggett and Portuguese and all that stuff. So there's this one Inuit guy who's going towards the girl that Daggett likes and has been like following along or whatever. He goes towards this woman, right? And then Daggett's like, oh, no, that's not happening. He like body checks the guy out of the side and then like steals the woman, and then he takes her to an igloo to do the same thing. And you can see that Inuit guy is like pissed off. And he's like, what the heck?
And again, this is where it starts to turn bad because he's taking ownership of the women. Now.
So he's essentially stealing this woman almost without permission. And then Portuguese, Louis Gosset Jr.'s character, is essentially taking like women by two. So he's having like threesomes
but he's also like laying beside Sarkak and stuff. You know?
So they all, this is where they kind of like share the same bed, right? So all these people, regardless of who you're with, is essentially sharing a bed when you're sleeping or doing the
which
nasty.
I like. It's not like these white guys and these foreigners climbing closer to these naked girls. They're literally as close to the naked men as well. You know, literally. So it's like they're all just squished together. And sharing body heat because it's still like whatever 30 degrees Fahrenheit is, but that's like how cold it would be in the igloo. So it's like you got it all squeezed together.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
So it's like, sure, laying beside the girl might be nice and sensual, but you're also pressed up by old Sarkak.
Yeah,
you know, grabbing your ass.
Wrinkly old Sarkak.
Yeah, wrinkly old Sarkak. Yeah.
Sarkak's sack.
Yeah. God. Yeah, you got Sarkak's sack on your ass. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, so that kind of shows like almost like the selfishness and
that they're willing to share.
Yeah,
but Daggett is now taking kind of ownership of this girl he wants to like take back and marry because he's like falling in love with her,
and like almost like unofficially, right? Like he's just like assuming that since he like made love to her like I don't know twice or 3 times before that, he's like, oh, she's mine, she likes me.
Yeah, and she's kind of sensual to him too, but yeah, sharing's fine, but taking ownership. Yeah, and stealing a wife is different than sharing a wife
because they're not like almost doing it in like secret in a way. Like not really like
they kind of run away, and so even like the girl seems maybe like she's in the wrong a little bit too. Against the customs, but that's the influence of another culture.
Exactly, I was just about to say it's like she's so heavily influenced by Daggett.
Definitely,
right? He's like just like poisoning her in a way that's like, no, it's okay, like kind of thing.
Definitely, and it's funny because this movie is rated R when it came out, which I guess back in the 70s an R rating was like sometimes like a death sentence, like not as many people would see it now. And it's rated R because the biggest issue the studio had was there's a scene where Daggett's making love to the Inuit lady, and he like rubs his hand on her thigh, and they were like, that's R rating.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, this is too much. So not the animal violence, not any of that. It was the scenes of sensuality that got an R rating. But now I think they pushed it back to a PG rating.
PG rating.
Yeah, which makes more sense to me, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I don't really care about nudity. It's like PG for a PG audience. This is totally fine. I think. Yeah.
There's like it's not heavy nudity. You see boobs.
It's the same nudity as like I said when we were watching the movie. I'm like, this is like a National Geographic magazine.
Yeah.
It's that kind of nudity, you know?
Yeah,
it's just like
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
It's not shocking. It's not like woo.
No, when it's not used for anything. It's like it's
there.
supposed to be sensual, but it was also a sensual thing actually happening. So it's not like the movie's trying to like turn you on.
No,
it's just showing like customs.
Well, you weren't turned on.
Well, you know, Warren Oates.
You
know, that guy got me going.
Yeah. What was that quote you said? Kind of about when he was getting upstaged or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a scene at the beginning where Warren Oates they're trying to revive him, and then she's pulling her shirt up and putting his feet in her shirt. Yeah. And then I guess Warren Oates was having a bad day that day. And then Philip Kaufman, the director, went over to him and he's like, "What's wrong? Why are you so upset?" And he's like, "I'm being upstaged by a tit." It's hard to upstage a tit, you know.
I don't think there was much to upstage.
No, it's just like, again, a Hollywood actor at the time, probably not so used to like this type of nudity in the movies, you know. And
I think he's a little old school.
Probably a little old school.
Old school.
Yeah, for sure. And he's acted, and I've seen him in some other movies, which are the last movie I watched him in. Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. It opens up with him having crabs in his pubes. So he's no, you know, he's no foreigner to the dirty stuff. Like he's in bed with a hooker and then he's like, "Why am I so itchy? I got crabs." And it's just,
oh my God.
So he's, you know.
I can already picture how he says that. I've never seen that movie, but I just, watching this movie with Warren Oates is like, oh God.
You know, yeah. Yeah. I think we'll talk about Warren, everyone's acting later on.
Yeah. I got a few things to say about like the back end kind of stuff.
So basically just rushing through this plot now because so basically that happens, the dance and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So when there was a thaw, all the girls pick berries that they're eating. Yep. Now it's the winter, the berries are kind of have gone off.
Like fermented.
Yeah, and like aren't very edible, started to ferment. So the 3 of them turn into alcohol very fast. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
even the director's like, and they managed to somehow ferment the berries. And I'm like, yeah, how did this happen?
Okay.
And they have like a bucket of berries. They make so much alcohol. Yeah. That they get like the whole tribe trashed.
Yeah. So this is going like what you said, like showing them how they party.
Yes. And influencing them to alcohol, which is not good. And it's, again, a classic thing of like with indigenous people, like, you know what I mean? Introducing them to alcohol and like all this hard booze that they can't necessarily handle because their systems aren't used to it.
And they've never had it, right?
They've never had it. So it's just like...
And kind of like a sort of like comparison, right? Because throughout the movie, they're given these 3 characters, you know, types of food. And it's like raw fish. Yeah. And stuff like that, right? And it's kind of like that same thing, like they're giving them alcohol, which they've never had before. So it's like they're not used to it. They can't handle it. Yeah. And it didn't really like show anything because it's like, yeah, if they're given like raw fish, like they're not getting sick or like that sort of raw meat.
No, and I'm
right?
surprised they didn't show that.
They didn't like just have like a quick minute of just being like, oh, like,
yeah,
don't feel so good. It must be that meat or whatever. Like,
they
didn't really touch on that.
Done that because apparently the whole crew for the movie had constant diarrhea and bowel issues the whole time.
Yeah,
because they weren't used to the water, they weren't used to what they were eating.
Yeah,
so I'm surprised the movie didn't touch on that.
Yeah.
I guess it would take away if Warren Oates was having diarrhea the whole time. Maybe that's what he was doing in the corner though in the igloo the whole time. Maybe he wasn't lazy. Maybe he had an upset bowel. Maybe I feel a little bad for him. I know what that's like. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they don't really show that. But yeah, they're like, just as them eating raw meat, now they're giving these people alcohol.
Yeah. So it kind of like portrays that sort of comparison in a way, right?
Yeah.
Giving them alcohol, they can't handle it. It shows that, they're getting a little reckless and they don't know what they're doing kind of thing. So it shows this one girl who's, I think she was with Portuguese or something, or no, she was with another person, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember who she's with, but she's just kind of alone and like clearly wasted and hot.
And she was hot. So she was like, I don't feel so good. She takes off like her like sealskin jacket or sweater or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm too hot. I gotta cool down or whatever. So she's topless. She has her pants on or whatever. Yeah. And then she goes out into the cold and just like essentially just passes out.
Yeah.
And kind of fast forward a little bit to the next day, they find her body. She's dead.
Yeah.
The whole tribe is pissed.
Yeah.
Like,
they're like,
not
you brought
happy.
death to us, you know, and now they've really introduced them to
Yeah.
alcohol and now brought on the death of someone.
Yeah, exactly. So it resulted in misfortune that way.
In a misfortune, yeah.
So, and I think the shaman.
Yeah, because like Sarkak is like, you've been stealing my wife.
Yep.
You brought death. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
So Sarkak, the head leader, leaves, and then it's implied that the shaman has kind of been following them and almost waiting for this moment to become the leader of this group, like, and to have his influence finally taken over on the group. You know,
because I think it's around that time too. Like, don't they like the three main characters, they try to send up like a signal, like they use like their long johns as like a flag
on top of like
on top of a rock.
Yeah.
And then the shaman kind of sees like all this misfortune happening, and they're like, oh no, like, no, you're not signaling any more of your kind to come around here, right?
Yeah.
You three have done enough damage.
Yeah.
Right. So he, like, him and Dirty Boy go and like topple the flag.
Yeah.
And essentially he kind of almost like rounds up the rest of the tribe or the camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And starts convincing them like, you guys are in big trouble, and like these dog children or whatever have just brought nothing but misfortune and bad omens and death. Right. So bringing all this bad stuff to the tribe that was essentially doing just fine
doing
them,
just fine,
right? Despite having like Timothy Bottoms, which is like essentially like the good guy of the three.
Yeah, the best one.
The most morally right.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And wanting to be respectful of their
most. I would say most. He said he did some morally bad things, like stealing the one daughter. Or wife or whatever,
which again, it's like his fault, but also he's just from a different culture. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like us going over to, like, you know what I mean, places that are more used to, like they say the French, I don't know if it's true, but being more open with their relationships and like thruples being normal. To us, it's like, nah, it's fucking weird.
Yeah. So the shaman kind of rounds up all the tribe or the whole camp, and is like telling, like, essentially like influencing them, like, nope, we got to get rid of these guys. Let's get rid of them. Yeah, they got to go.
You got to kill them.
Yeah, it's either you or them.
Yeah, you got to kill them to please the gods as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like this tribe, they've lost Sarkak, their leader. They're distraught, so they kind of fall into his influence that you got to go kill these guys. Yeah,
so they kind of they do listen to the shaman and act on like what he's telling them to do. And so they essentially like ambush them almost.
Yeah, they go into the tent where Warren Oates and Lou kind of like passed out after drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of, Warren Oates sees people come in and he's like, what's going on? And Lou's like, I think it's some girls. He's like, I've had it with girls. Like he's had his fill of women.
Yeah.
Then the girls come and pick him up and then start putting gloves on him that have no fingers.
No fingers. Yeah. So like tying their hands together.
Which I was confused about. Because I thought, ooh, he's going to think they're like turning him into like the dog, like he said before. But apparently it's just so they can't really fight back. Like it's like a straitjacket type of thing.
Yeah. So restraint.
Yeah. So Warren Oates kind of fighting back, and then one of them grabs a knife and just starts stabbing Warren Oates in the neck.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Which
is
he's
crazy.
And then Portuguese, like, bursts out of the.
Yeah.
Does he bursts out of it, or he falls onto an igloo or something like that? I know there's like something where
yeah.
essentially crashes into one.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, they stab him with a spear. I think.
They throw a spear into him.
Yeah. I think when he says that, like, when he gets like stabbed, he like yells out for Daggett, and then Daggett's like all freaked out, like, what's going on or whatever, right? So he sees that happening.
Yeah.
Right, and he's like, oh no, like I gotta get away or whatever. And then the wife that he stole from Sarkak, is like, no, it's okay, like I'll vouch for you or whatever, right? So they all chase him up like the nearby like
a cliff,
yeah. And he's literally like standing on the edge, right? And then the wife or the woman is like kind of standing in front of him, just saying, like, trying to protect him.
And a guy too. It's like which I didn't know from the movie, but I learned from the commentary. It's supposed to be like Sarkak's successor. So this will be the guy who will now. He's also like the first Inuit who saw them. So in the book, he's the main character who's narrating the story. In the movie, they threw that away, but he is an important character. The movie just doesn't really let you know that, you know. Okay. But he's like, don't kill him. He's our brother. We ate with him. We hunted with him.
Yeah. We taught him our ways, kind of thing.
We taught him all his ways. So the tribe's kind of believing him and realizing what they've done wrong. Dirty boys in the back talking to like a guy with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Basically convinces the guy with the bow and arrow. So the tribe kind of is going to let
they're like agreeing to let him go.
Daggett go.
Yeah.
And then they all start to walk away, and then the guy with the bow pulls back and
shoots him with a couple arrows. And Daggett's dead.
And Daggett's dead too. And then the wife kind of is crying over top of him. And yeah, because she obviously fell in love with him, you know.
Yeah.
So what could have been like a peaceful, like, two cultures learning from each other, it went downhill. Yeah. Yeah.
Very downhill.
Which, it's a weird ending because in some way it kind of makes them look not like savages, but it's a crazy ending because they kill your three main characters. Yeah. And brutally too. But it's not really like their fault in a way. Mm-hmm. It's just like the cultures are so different. It just, you know, the belief of spiritual stuff.
Yeah, they don't mesh.
It didn't mesh.
Yeah.
And it was kind of also the three main characters' faults in a way. Yeah. It's just too different of cultures and at the wrong time. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's pretty much the end.
Yeah.
Really, like nothing else happens. Like they just die and the tribe kind of just moves on, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? The shaman's happy.
Yeah. But now their tribe has been corrupted because they've never like murdered each other before. Yeah. So now they've murdered. So then you can only guess that this is going to cause some kind of distrust. And, yeah, the shaman now has some control, and I don't trust the shaman. No one seemed to trust him at the beginning.
Yeah, he's a little weird.
Little shyster.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the whole story of The White Dawn. Yeah. Wasn't a boring movie. Like I didn't I was entertained.
Yeah, me too.
So to kind of just maybe go on about some of the stuff that maybe we found was weird or like stuff that we had problems with. I think we should start with the acting because we kind of mentioned that a little bit.
So
God, I'll start off real strong here.
All right.
Timothy Bottoms sucked.
Okay, he's not very good.
He was the worst.
He was pretty bad. But it wasn't like The Room acting where it's like really bad line delivery.
No.
His beady ass eyes. It was partially his face I just didn't like. And his acting was just rough.
It was rough, dude. I did not vibe with him at all.
Yeah. I didn't vibe with him either.
No, I wrote down, so I looked up like a little bit of his acting history. This is the 6th film that he acted in.
Okay, wow.
So
his 6th.
Yeah,
and I remember the director saying that in the commentary that this was like he was kind of up and coming.
Yeah.
So he wasn't a big actor.
And I think it kind of shows because like his acting's not very strong.
No.
I think there's a lot of lines that are like a little weird or cheesy or something.
His facial expressions just don't really do it for me.
Yeah. And like compared to the other two, like Louis Gossett Jr. and Warren Oates, they both acted in like a lot of films before this.
Yeah.
So they have a little bit more experience. I think even then, like Warren Oates kind of felt like a little forced.
Warren Oates' character is like almost a caricature at points too.
Yeah.
He's very
Yeah. Like Captain Ahab kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. You know.
Yeah. If anything, I think Louis Gossett Jr. maybe had like some of the better sort of parts, like a little bit stronger.
Yeah, like he emotionally worked better for me. Like when he realizes he screwed up with the wrestling.
Yeah.
Like the look in his face, you can tell like he feels bad about what he did, and so
like one of the notes I put was acting is weak.
Yeah, which is crazy too, because this is like a skeleton crew. It was like the three of them, the director, and they were really immersed in this culture.
Yeah.
So you'd think that would help lead to some positive acting, you know?
Yeah.
But maybe it's just because the filming was so weird. They couldn't like, okay, now it's time to get into character. It was just like, okay, now's our time to shoot. So let's shoot, you know? Like not a lot of prep or just like off the cuff kind of shooting.
Now, I wrote down, because I looked up a little statistic afterwards. The estimated budget for this movie,
I think I know.
Yeah,
1.7.
It was $1.7 million US dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
There we go. So yeah, kind of going to your skeleton crew. It doesn't have a large budget.
No.
They have 3 actors, like Hollywood actors.
Yeah.
And then I think from what you told me, like a very small film crew.
Yeah, super
like
small.
director of photography kind of thing.
Yeah, the
probably
author.
some sound guys.
Yeah, some people would come in and then leave, you know.
Yeah, so
but
very
super small.
Very small budget. Yeah. Probably like 1 camera.
Yeah.
Right.
They said like a movie like this had like never really been shot before through Hollywood, where it was just like almost like a documentary, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, like the acting, I didn't vibe with that much. Warren Oates kind of annoyed me, and kind of what I was gonna say from earlier, I left it till now. I felt a lot of inconsistencies. I felt like, okay, wait, and we saw this throughout the movie. Is like, wait, hold on, why is Warren Oates' character so like calm and chill right now? Like in one scene, he's like dancing with people, and he's like having a good time, and then like in the next scene, he's like cranky and like being like derogatory towards people, and just like, you know, like all
for sure. Like he goes from grumpy to happy, and like I kind of picked up that he's opportunistic, but the movie doesn't really like lead you to that belief. Yeah. You just kind of have to assume yourself. You're like, okay.
And just kind of my thought when we kind of touched on it a little bit was like, oh wait, hold on, maybe what happened is, it was again a very candid scene, like they're doing their dance or whatever, and like maybe he was like, he got pulled into it and he's just like enjoying it. So maybe that wasn't like a moment of acting. Totally. But it was just like a moment of just being there at that time. And then he was just like, well, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm going to dance with you or whatever. Definitely. I'm going to, you know, do what you're doing. Yeah. And then like probably in one of the more curated scenes, like where he has to act, he's like, these people or whatever, I can't be around here. For sure. Yeah. Here. Yeah. So it's like, maybe like that just popped in my mind when we started. Yeah. Was, okay, maybe he was just like living in the moment as Warren Oates, right? Like it was just him being there and doing the dance or whatever, right? Because I was like, wait, what the hell? Like, why is he sledding down the hill with these people and he's so happy
and he's like loving it? Yeah,
and he's loving it. And the next scene, he's cranky and crabby and
I think too, it's like I think you're right about that. Like they're just picking up and filming, and like apparently the 3 main actors really liked the Inuit people and they really liked them, so they really they were basically like Timothy Bottom's character. Like they liked the culture and they tried to immerse themselves in it.
So that's what I think it was maybe then,
and also he's probably been stranded there like in the timeline of the movie for a long ass time. So you can't be a grumpy ass the whole time. You know? Eventually you're gonna like. It's like you know, if you're hanging out with some asshole but you're stuck with them in a room for 2 months, you'll probably crack us a couple smiles.
Probably,
you know? Like make do with what you have, and eventually, you know.
I guess that makes sense.
But he does cut back and forth a lot to. Yeah. In the whole movie, I'm like, this character is definitely a horrible drunk. And then when he gets drunk, he's like, the worst drunk.
He is
ever.
the worst.
He's like fighting people. And
another thing I kind of like felt was a little weird, and it didn't really like clear it up too much, was like the timeline. It doesn't like say anything like 1 month later or whatever. It's just like it cuts and like they're doing all these things, like it kind of jumps around in a way, not jumps around, but like it just jumps forward. It's like, wait, how long have they been here? Have they been here for a month? Have they been here for like a year? Like how long has this happened? You don't really see any signs of like, you know, Daggett's hair getting longer. They all have big bushy beards.
I was wondering about that.
Like it's not very clear on like how long they're there for.
They were there for 4 months shooting. It's like, man, you could have let your beard really grow in 4 months.
Get a little scraggly,
like let it go crazy.
And then it would kind of show like, okay, we've been here for a while, right?
The only giveaway is the passing of seasons, like the thaw to freezing. So you're like, okay, time is passing, you know. But physically they don't look like they've changed that much.
What else did I have? What were some of my complaints here? That was like the acting, just the ADR. Sorry, like when they re-recorded some of the audio, it's like a little weird.
There was one scene, I can't remember what it was, with Warren Oates like going,
yeah,
just like added in.
They probably just got him into a microphone and was just like, okay, yeah, make a grunting noise or whatever. He's like, and like I think Louis Gossett Jr.'s does a thing where he's like, like does this weird sort of like laugh or something. I don't know. So some of that stuff just didn't fit.
Yeah, and I'm assuming like because the environment, the shooting must have been hard as hell because they only had like 4 months, which is a lot of time, but they also like couldn't not shoot because the weather was bad. And like in the Arctic, you can have bad weather for like 3 weeks.
For so long, yeah.
So trying to like, apparently a lot of their footage was exposed to radiation. There's probably lots of issues with the audio and all that wind.
Yeah.
So probably a lot of it had to be fixed up later.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Just like the fact that they even filmed the movie, like these big Panasonic 1970s film cameras out in this crazy weather.
Yeah.
It like he was saying in the commentary, it's like director of cinematography's nightmare. You know, it's a nightmare situation. Yeah. It's just like, trying to keep all that equipment in order and everything. Yeah. Like, God, just be hell.
Kind of going back a little bit. So there's a couple things I'm going to bring up here. Going to the timeline again, is I found that Daggett, so Timothy Bottom's character, learned stuff too quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like picking up on their language really fast.
It's like, so that it doesn't really touch on like, oh, you've been here for like 6 months. And, you know, then I can understand, like, it doesn't really touch on that much. So he's picking up on like language and in certain things and like their way of life. And I'm like, how long has he been here for? Like, to me, it just seems like they've been there for maybe like a month.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
For sure.
It's like, wait, he already knows like some of the language and like knows how to hunt and like all that stuff. So
yeah, because the scene when the guy is like telling him about the ritual with the seal where you put fresh water, it's about he's saying it in his own language and we can read the subtitles, but somehow Timothy Bottoms is like, wow, exactly. I'm like, wait, how did you understand a single word that guy just said?
Yeah, exactly. So that kind of like threw me off a little bit, and I was like, it doesn't touch on that, so it doesn't make sense to the viewer.
Or you don't see like his girlfriend slowly kind of teaching him and breaking down the language. Could have been a little bit of that thrown in.
It could have just been like a couple second shot of like them both sitting down and like she's like pointing to stuff and he's like nodding or whatever. Like it doesn't touch on that too much.
You just have to use your imagination and assume that that's been happening.
Yeah, I guess so. What was the other thing? I think some of the motivations didn't seem clear. Except for Billy's. Like, obviously his motivations, like, he just doesn't like being there. And he's going to be a terrible person. Like, that was consistent.
Yeah.
Other than the shots that I think that were just, like, candidly filming. But, like, in the moments where it's, like, you know, very formulated, you know, Warren Oates' character is the crabby guy, right? He hates being there. He doesn't want to involve himself. I think some of the other things were, like, kind of, like, unclear or like inconsistent in some of the like Portuguese and Daggett's like moments,
because like Daggett being okay with stealing stuff and not really putting up a fight. Being like, listen, I'm not gonna do this. First off, we're not gonna make it. There's no chance in hell. And I'm not stealing from these people. But he doesn't really put up a fight at all. He's like, all right, let's go. And it's like, he's about the girl you love.
Yeah, exactly. He's so willing to leave, and he's done all this like sort of like learning and like, you know, building these relationships with people, and he's just like, okay, we'll leave. It's like, wait, well, hold on, that doesn't make sense.
I know, I agree.
I think that was mainly the issues that I had. The acting was just the one that like kind of pulled me out.
We were laughing a bit at
Timothy
Bottoms.
Timothy Bottoms was the worst.
I just don't like his face and his beady eyes. Now, I will say, I was reading his filmography too. I've seen a movie with him before called The Last Picture Show, which the movie's like, you know, I remember liking it. It's known as like one of the greats. And then he's in a movie called Johnny Got His Gun. I don't know if you saw that. That movie looks awesome as hell, and I can't wait to watch it.
You have to let me know how
Timothy Bottoms is the main actor, so we'll see.
Got to see how Timmy is.
Yeah, I think he has like his legs blown off and his arms blown off for most of the movie. He's in a coma, so hopefully he'll be fantastic. But,
God!
It looks like a cool movie though, so I'm willing to watch more with him in it. But
I'll give him a little bit of grace because it's his 6th film. Like obviously you probably don't have that much. Well, you obviously don't have that much experience. But I don't know. It just what are we at? Okay, we're on the time.
What are we at?
An hour and 25.
Holy God, I got a few things to say here. How is it an hour and a half already?
I don't know. It just flew by.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll give him a little bit of grace. 6th film. It's a little weak, so
yeah,
for
sure.
Just what I picked up on the most.
Yeah. I want to say some positives. I can't believe we're at this time.
Yep.
The music.
Mm-hmm.
I love the music. It's by Henry Mancini, who is like a really big composer. He did the soundtrack for all the Pink Panther movies and like the Pink Panther cartoon. One of my favorite movies by a director named Douglas Sirk, who's my favorite director. A movie called Imitation of Life. He did the soundtrack for that, which is a crazy good soundtrack. And then he also did the soundtrack for the African adventure film starring John Wayne called Hatari, which he wrote Baby Elephant Walk for. Do you know Baby Elephant Walk? You've definitely drank to that tune before.
Yeah.
It's a real banger. So the fact that he wrote that too. But the soundtrack, man, honestly, if I was like on my deathbed and people were like, what are 10 of your favorite movie themes? The White Dawn would be in there.
Wow.
I like it that much. I really like the
theme.
Oh yeah, dude. I love the theme. I think it's very good. Yeah, I don't know. Henry Mancini, man, it's just, I don't know. He's awesome.
Yeah, like we said, atmospheric.
Yeah, and it's like taken from the song of the old woman singing. So he took that and then like twisted it and kind of wrote this like epic score from it.
Yep.
And I guess it's also using the right stuff. There's a scene, I haven't seen it, where they're circling Earth and they use that song. And it's like, I can picture it. It would work perfect.
Cool.
So big plus for me. A movie theme, a good movie theme goes a long way to me.
Right.
Like it'll really elevate the movie.
Because if you listen to that song, it makes you think of the movie.
Totally.
Right? And you're just watching the movie as you're listening to that song.
And just like the vibe and the warmth of the movie. And like a lot of the movie was lit by real seal lamps and stuff. So it's like real natural lighting. So I don't know, just elevates it. And then cinematography was crazy
I like
good.
that too. Yeah. The cinematography was like really nice.
When I was watching the commentary, going off on a thing, but there's a movie by Steven Spielberg called The Fableman. And at the end of the movie, like it's about Steven Spielberg's life. Young Steven Spielberg meets a director named like John Ford, who's one of my other favorite directors. And there's a scene where John Ford is telling him what makes an interesting shot. And then he's like, when the horizon's at the top of the screen, that's interesting. When the horizon's at the bottom of the screen, that's interesting.
Right.
When it's in the middle, that's boring as shit.
Yeah.
And this movie totally has great horizons, great big landscapes. Super interesting shots,
right.
You know. So I definitely the cinematography for being in the weather as well, very good.
Yeah, I liked it too. There was a cool moment where I think they're all like going on a boat, like they're all in their kayaks and boats and stuff, and they're all sailing along together with the Inuit people, and they're kind of going in between like the foreground, the background, like the layers of that shot were really nice.
Oh yeah,
and it's like the nice still water.
Yeah, definitely.
All these like ice, like little mini like icebergs floating on the top. Just looked really cool. And there's like a boat here. There's a boat in the middle ground, and then one in the background, one in the foreground. It's like it's just so many layers, and it looks so cool.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it looks really good. Yeah. Certain shots of like the mountains behind them while they're hunting. It's just like crisp and I'm like, it looks real good.
Yeah.
And just for the fact that it was shot in like apparently they would take shots in like the middle where it's like thawing. And then they'd be told, like, if we don't leave here in 2 minutes, it's going to freeze up around us.
Right.
And they're in, like, canoes, and we won't be able to leave here. So it's, like, packing your shit up and running. And so it's just, like, getting all the stuff they got done in that time period, in that weather. It's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. So, rating?
Yeah, you go first.
You might be shocked, Jordan.
Okay.
I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars.
Whoa.
I'm a big fan. I love the score.
Yeah.
The acting is a bit off, but I think... an interesting movie that I've never seen anything like it. And for the 70s, coming off like a documentary. I don't know. I liked it. I like how warm it is.
Yep.
I will say when I watched it, there were some sluggish moments where my interest kind of went off a little bit, and I was like, I don't know. But overall, the theme,
right?
Just like the movie exists and gave me this great theme, and I don't know. I just love the cinematography, and I like the hunting and the everything like that. And like, I like stories about people and like different ideologies clashing. I like those types of movies. So 4 out of 5, which is pretty large.
4 out of 5. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's really good.
Yeah.
It's unlike your letterbox, apparently.
I gave it a 3.5 on my letterbox, but I said a very enthusiastic 3.5. But letterbox can only do it by half stars. So if I probably would have given like a 3.8. But over time, I've been thinking about the movie a lot, and my appreciation has grown.
And
I would have given it a different rating right after watching it, but yeah.
I think since so my rating, I think in my notebook I put like 3.5.
Yeah.
when I kind of came back to myself, and because the Warren Oates moments like kind of like took me out of it, I'll give it up to about 3.8, 3.9.
Yeah, really? Damn.
Just because I was like, it doesn't make sense. Why is he so happy in one scene and why is he so angry in the other?
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, it was just probably just like candid moment.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
oh, we got to capture that.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a good shot, and maybe he just happened to be in the scene, right? So I'll bump my score up a little bit because that threw me off initially. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Which I totally get.
Yeah. So I'll go 3.8.
3.8. That's pretty high. I wasn't
Bottoms
expecting
really
that
brought
high.
Me down. Timothy Bottoms really brought me down a little bit.
For some reason, I was expecting like a 3.2 or
3.2. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I came back around a little bit because just think about that moment made a little bit more sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the cinematography was great. There's nothing more, pleasing than like just a really nice shot.
I know. Yeah.
And what happens in the frame.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it was all filmed on location.
Oh yeah,
that's
like,
real. Islands. Like nothing is filmed in the studio.
Yeah.
And the whole aspect of like it's like a documentary.
Yeah. Oh
right?
yeah.
Without like the boring like, and this happened.
Totally.
Like it's just literally just capturing life. I probably would have watched it if it was just like no narration. Just we're gonna bring a camera and we're just gonna film the way of life.
I'd watch
just
it
be
too.
like a sort of like a silent documentary.
Totally. I'd watch that too.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Same.
So I like that sort of aspect where it's just so it's raw in so many moments and it's just like roll it.
Totally.
We gotta capture that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I like that sort of aspect.
Yeah, and still feeling like a movie though, you know, and like
Yeah.
feeling like it all blends and meshes together. I think decently. Like it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, this is a documentary and now there's like acting in it. It kind of like meshes together.
Yeah.
I also like the way they handled the relationship between Timothy Bottoms and the female Inuit.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen so many Western movies where the guy falls in love with an Indian girl and it's played by like a white woman who's so gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah.
And these stupid love scenes where they're like in hay and like this was like played way straighter.
Oh yeah.
It's not cheesy and like she doesn't speak English and like, she looks like a Inuit girl like all the rest of them. She's not any more pretty.
Yeah.
So I like that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did a good job at that as well.
Yeah, so
just don't cast Timmy.
He was oh god.
No Timmy Bottoms.
Yeah, I know. I agree I'm not rushing out to see
another Timmy Bottoms movie. Yeah. So maybe for the last couple minutes.
Yeah.
Has there anything you've watched like recently?
Yeah, I did want to mention one movie I watched.
Okay.
So I watched it recently in theaters. It's directed by a director named I wrote it down. I keep forgetting his name. Ali Abbasi. He's like an Iranian Dutch filmmaker. Mm-hmm. It was called The Apprentice. Have you heard of it?
I don't think so.
It's a Donald Trump movie.
Okay, no, you did tell me you were going to see that.
Yeah,
you did see that. Okay.
So I had heard about it and I was like, ugh, Donald Trump. He's just everywhere and it seems like such a played topic.
Yep.
Then I saw the trailer. I'm like, ooh, this seems kind of interesting. And then I saw it and like I loved it. I thought it was really good. Yeah. Okay. Sebastian Stan plays Donald Trump.
Sebastian Stan, yeah. Okay.
And then do you know who Jeremy Strong is?
I feel like I've heard of him.
He was in Succession. I don't know if you saw Succession.
I'm sure if I saw his face, I would probably recognize him.
Plays like a lawyer called Roy Cohn, and it's about Donald Trump's relationship with Roy Cohn.
Oh, okay.
So when Donald Trump was young, he became like the apprentice of Roy Cohn, who was like this lawyer who was literally known as like one of the worst humans in America in like that time period.
Yep.
He would use blackmail to win cases.
Okay.
So like there's a scene where Donald Trump is being sued when he was younger. Like his whole family's being sued for not like renting out hotels to like people of color.
Okay.
So on their applications they would put a C for colored. So they're getting sued. So Donald Trump hires this lawyer, and the lawyer like literally finds who's suing Donald Trump, which is like a guy in the Department of Justice.
Okay.
And this lawyer was like a closeted homosexual, so he would use his knowledge of the homosexual world against people. So this guy was like having sex with men, so he got photos of it, blackmailed him to win the case or whatever.
Oh my god.
So it's about this relationship and just like how his rules shaped Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And then how it's like a Frankenstein's monster story. His creation, who's Donald Trump, slowly starts to get out of his hands, Okay. Super good.
Interesting.
If anyone's seen like the movie Spencer with Kristen Stewart, she plays like Princess Diana. They'll know that movie takes like a gothic approach to her story. This movie does a similar thing. Like the music's very like synthy gothic. And dude, the last 15 minutes, I was making fun of someone crying at the Wild Robot.
Yeah.
This movie caught me real bad in the last 15 minutes.
You were crying?
Oh, dude, like,
whoa.
It was just super intense. Final 15 minutes of this movie.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I was like,
whoa.
It was one of the most intense finales I've seen in a movie.
Someone was probably making fun of you.
Oh, totally. Well, I was more just like, it was the music and like the combination of the music and just the imagery.
Okay.
And like Jeremy Strong's character is like dying of AIDS. And he's such an awful human being in the movie. But anyone who's dying, you become sympathetic for.
Yeah.
So you start to like feel bad for him watching this person get out of hand, and no one cares for him. And he's just like, I don't know. Crazy. Interesting movie though.
Interesting.
I would recommend everyone should see it.
When did that come out?
Just now. Just like last Friday. But
cool.
I know they were getting sued and they didn't think they were going to be able to put it out because it does show some stuff.
Oh, okay.
Some hardcore stuff involving Donald Trump and his wife. There's one particular scene which is like crazy.
Really?
And I was like, did this actually happen? It better have, because if it didn't, this is crazy to show this.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's based off a real testimony from his wife in court. So this stuff did happen. So
I'll have to check it out.
Interesting. I highly recommend the acting, dude. I've never been so excited about acting before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeremy Strong is just like so dead behind the eyes, and just like it makes you want to act watching it. You know.
Nice.
I've been pursing my lips for like a week and a half. Doing like the Donald Trump thing. Just like walking around. It just like got me excited about acting. You know. I'm like, this is really good. But
nice. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, definitely. How about you?
Well, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I watched Chef 2014, 2015 roughly. Jon Favreau movie.
Mm-hmm.
You said you watched it a long time ago.
A long time. I don't remember much.
So Jon Favreau stars in it with Scarlett Johansson, Sofia Vergara, John Leguizamo. It's such a complicated name. John Leguizamo. He plays like his like sous chef or something.
Oh,
like
okay,
that. Yeah. And the other guy who like is one of his chefs. I've seen him in multiple things. I just don't know his name. So like a decent cast.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It was a very entertaining movie. Kept a consistent pace. It was in a way like a feel good movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's what I remember too.
It wasn't like those super dramatic moments and like it always turns back around. It's just like it's upbeat in a way. It's like no one's really down on their luck. I guess like it kind of like in the background, like Jon Favreau doesn't have like the strongest relationship with like his kid, but they're trying. Like they're trying to like he's trying to make it work. His kid's really trying to make it work. He wants to be more involved. But it's basically just about like. Jon Favreau's character was a very famous chef, and he's working in this kitchen. He finds out that this food critic is coming to review his food. Doesn't go that well, and then he kind of like bashes the food critic and gets him like fired from his kitchen job. He's convinced that he wants to he goes into a food truck making Cuban food. Like sandwiches. I feel like there's a specific name to it. I can't remember it, but essentially just like like a Cuban sandwich. I guess. Looks so good.
Well, if it looks anything like his grilled cheese at the beginning of that movie.
So delicious looking.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes on this whole sort of like road trip of like they're hitting up all these different cities and how like popular they're getting. So it's just like a feel good movie. It's not like, oh, the truck broke down. It's like, oh, we went to go shopping and now we have a giant lineup of people. It's like it's showing it like it's like a happy success, right? Yeah. It was a fun movie. I liked watching it. The character sort of like banter, like the writing was really good. It felt natural. Like if you were to like if me and you were to like just talk like we are now, it felt natural. Like they're always kind of going back and forth on each other. There's not like a lot of pauses.
Yeah.
It felt like a natural conversation. So I think it did a good job in terms of the writing, directing, and
was it directed by him as well?
Yeah,
Jon Favreau?
I think it was written and directed by him. I'm pretty sure. So he did like a lot.
Yeah.
His character was pretty good. It was pretty funny. But it also shows like his character's not like that well versed in like modern day.
Yeah,
sort of,
he's
like,
a little
relations
your classic
or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So his kid does a lot of like his sort of like social media managing and
he's the classic dad. Like, what is a phone?
Yeah, like what is Twitter? What
Yeah. You crazy kids in your Twitter.
Yeah, so stuff like that.
Oh wait, I'm getting a lot of attention on it.
Yeah, exactly. It was a fun movie. Oh, Russell Peters makes like a cameo in it. He plays like a cop or something.
Oh boy.
So he's literally in it for like.
Is he funny in it? Is Russell Peters funny? Like, have you seen his stand up?
I've seen some of his
Is
stand up.
it funny?
There's some funny parts, yeah.
I saw like a little blip of his stand up on like Facebook, and I don't. Holy God!
I don't mind it. There's some parts where it's like pretty funny.
Yeah.
But he's in it for like literally like maybe a minute or two.
That's good.
Like it's very short.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember because when I told you like, so I watched Chef. That was a random pick. I was like, you know what? I'll watch it. I've seen like a clip from it. And you remember you said the most unrealistic thing about that movie was that Jon Favreau's character would be in a relationship with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
And also have a past relationship with Sofia Vergara.
And this guy wrote it and directed it and cast like the most stunning women he could find for his.
It's like Larry David. And like Jerry Seinfeld.
George Costanza
having like beautiful women as like a girlfriend.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, oh, come on.
It's like if he's a famous chef, guess.
Yeah.
But I just remember his character in the movie. I'm like, what? How do you like these beautiful women in your life? Like, I don't know. Jon Favreau, he kind of looks like a little bit of a more handsome, like Fred Flintstone.
Listen, it kind of shows a lesson. And it's a trending show on Netflix. Love is Not Blind, Chris.
Oh God, I guess
that's
not.
maybe why
it might have bad vision though. It might have bad vision.
Maybe bad. Yeah, maybe they just need some glasses.
yeah, true. Get a little closer to Jon Favreau.
A little blurred and skewed.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's just making him look more handsome. Just like certain features.
Yeah,
yeah. It's like I do. Jon Favreau though, he's like a powerhouse director. Like Elf. He directed Elf, like the Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
All the friggin' Iron Man. He basically started the Marvel trend.
Yep.
All those live action Disney movies.
I think his direction is great.
He's definitely
he's a good director.
He reminds me of like Rob Reiner, if I don't know who he is, but he's like our generation's Rob Reiner, just like banging out some real classics, and
yeah,
I mean, good for him. He's also in Seinfeld.
He is.
Plays the clown.
Yeah.
From the 60s, man.
Bozo, B-O-Z-O.
Yeah. What's his name? Eric.
God.
Eric the clown. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I watched most recently.
Yeah.
Again, I'm still on Jack Ryan.
Oh yeah.
It piece by piece, just whenever I have a chance to watch something.
Yeah.
So that's my TV series that I'm watching right now.
I don't know. I haven't watched a TV series in a while, but I should. I'm missing out on a lot. I want to watch Succession now because Jeremy Strong. So I think his character is similar to the character in The Apprentice. So I'm like,
I've seen clips of that, like the trailer and all that stuff. Looks interesting show.
Yeah, he's a good actor, man. I don't know. He just like totally like transforms. Same with Sebastian Stan. He's like a chameleon. It's like at the beginning of this movie, it's like you don't really like feel like he's Trump. By the end of the movie, it is like, damn,
100%.
Without doing a stupid impression, it's just like this guy is like has become Trump.
That's cool.
Super
That's
cool. Really good acting. Yeah. Huh. So it's interesting. Lots of good stuff. It's Oscar season's coming up, so it's like it's all the big boy movies are coming out now.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's that kind of. I don't know. Is there anything else you want to kind of add or? No, that's about it.
Yeah. I was thinking our dinky little town we live in has a dinky little film festival. And I'm going to it this week, so I have 8 movie tickets.
Yeah.
So I was thinking for the next podcast, I would just mention my least favorite movie and my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. And we'll see. I'm only seeing 8, so I don't know if I'll have if it'll be a real bad one in the bunch. But we'll see.
That's cool.
Yeah. So,
you have to post a lot about it and.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Seeing this today?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I guess stay tuned on the socials. And
and see what I'm watching at the film
see what Chris
festival.
is watching.
Yeah, and it's like I was worried because we live in London, Ontario, so a little like city, but I thought the film festival would have just like no-name movies or whatever and just like random like stuff only shot in Ontario, but there's stuff from like TIFF and Cannes.
That's cool.
Well, whatever you have to pronounce that. Cannes. Yeah, I should know that by now.
The Cannes.
So a bunch of interesting stuff.
I think us Westerners would say can.
Yeah, okay. That's what
con.
I feel like I always say can.
Yeah.
The Cannes Film Festival. Yeah.
We know what you mean.
But yeah, so there's lots of interesting stuff. So yeah.
Maybe we have a Terrifier 3 review coming up soon.
Yes,
hopefully.
we will, yeah.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see what life brings us.
Yeah,
we just went to see that not that long ago, so
it'd be nice for Halloween, but I mean this month is almost over.
It's also a Christmas movie, so we have
it's also like so if it comes out in a little bit in November, even better.
Yeah.
We're
in the middle of it. So
yeah, it'd be nice to have a Halloween episode, but I don't know. We're finally catching up on our stuff. So
yeah, we're trying to. I think we're keeping like a kind of a consistent basis.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, life happens and we get busy and stuff, but
we'll
try our best to keep them coming out
totally
every so often. So
it just takes a couple days to make one. 'Cause you got to watch the movie, which is one day.
Yep.
and do some research or whatever, and then make it.
Yeah, because we usually do this like at least maybe a week in between each other. So sometimes we might be a little bit foggy on a movie, and we're like, wait, did that happen, or when did this happen?
Yeah,
but
which was a little bit today with the White Dawn. It was
wait.
Also a hard plot to piece together, just because the movie is so thin on plot.
Yeah.
So it's more just like piecing together documentary footage. So
exactly.
Hard movie to kind of break the plot down of. But
right.
Yeah. Terrifier 3 will be easy.
Oh,
it's like 4 kills and then like a little bit of talking in between. So
a little bit of talking, yeah.
So it's like it'll be it's not a hard plot to go through.
No.
Yeah. Unless all the lore and shit. But,
okay,
but all right.
You can get into the lore. I don't know anything about the lore.
Neither do I, so I don't know. We'll see. Okay, we'll see. But yeah.
Anyways,
all right.
That kind of concludes episode 3, I guess.
Yeah.
And we'll see what we're back with next. Either Terrifier 3 or some other random movie we decide to watch. We might watch a bad movie.
I think we're going to do that.
I think we should do that instead, maybe.
Do you want to?
I'll do that. We can do that instead whenever. And then Terrifier 3 as like a middle in between.
For
Christmas
sure. Honestly, for
Halloween.
Terrifier 3, and now we're just talking to each other. That's something good to us. But for Terrifier 3, we could like do it like when we talk about films we've seen at the end. Just whip out a quick Terrifier 3.
Yeah, like a little snippet.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, we're going to do a bad movie.
Oh yeah.
I think we love bad movies.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Bring it on. It'll be fun.
It's fun. I like watching bad movies, but it's also like a marathon in a way. It's like, oh my god.
Because watching bad movies is also like being prepared for a lot of boredom. But sometimes the boredom's funny.
Yeah.
Like it's like you start laughing about how bored you are.
Yeah.
And I was like, why isn't anything happening? Like that bad. What was that movie we watched?
Oh, Badass Sister.
Badass Sister. It's like people talking in a living room for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Just be prepared for us to complain a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be a different review.
Yeah. But I feel like we like stuff that's bad. So we're not shitting on it because it's bad. It's like I do have an appreciation for bad stuff, especially when it's genuine.
It's like, hey, they made something at least.
Totally.
Right?
And I like genuine bad. I don't like the Sharknado crap where it's like
purposely bad. Yeah.
I want it genuine. I want someone to have really tried and failed, sadly. But sometimes failing is just as good as succeeding, I guess. But yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah. Hopefully soon. We'll see what we're gonna pick.
Yeah,
we're just gonna blindly pick.
World's our oyster, Jordan. We can do whatever we want.
Oh yeah, there's lots out there.
Yeah, we got Tubi. There's so much bad stuff on there.
Yeah,
but we'll film our because we're gonna you're saying blind pick the bad movies, so we'll film that however we do it.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting aspect of it too.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So probably we'll do that next then. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, stay tuned, I guess, for episode 4.
Yeah.
Whatever bad movie we pick.
Whatever bad movie.
So
it'll be fun.
That will be a fun one.
Yeah, it will be fun.
Yeah. I guess if you want to see The White Dawn, go ahead and watch it.
I recommend it.
It's a cool movie.
Yeah, Lazy Sunday.
Watch it and let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and look up the score. It's on Spotify.
Yeah.
And just listen to that. Turn it up real loud in the car and drive around all nice through your town.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
All right.
Okay.
Well, I guess that ends it.
That ends it. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right. We'll see you on the 4th episode.
Yeah.
Bye. Do you have that applause?
Wait, hold on. No, that's the wrong one. Hold on. I'm still getting used to the soundboard.
Perfect.